911. Where is your emergency? I'm with my niece in the car.
A quiet home turned into the scene of tragedy where two grandchildren were lost under the care of the same grandmother. Her name is Kayla Shock. She lost not one but two of her kids. We can understand the pain.
Is she breathing? She's not moving or breathing. Are you doing CPR? Oh my God, she's dead. She ain't even fathom this right now.
That was the person she was supposed to trust the most. So, what went wrong during the hours she was watching? And how could a trusted caregiver be involved in such devastating loss? Today's story comes from Hardee County, Florida. It's a true crime documentary without graphic images, but still shows you the moment when parents realize the danger too late.
Oh no. Oh no. Mom. Mom.
Yes, the call you just heard is from an aunt who lost her niece. She seems in shock. The person at the center, Tracy Nix, a 65-year-old retired school principal who was supposed to protect the kid. November 22, 2022, the shocking day. By the time deputies pull up to the rural property, the worst has already happened. 11-month-old Yuri Nix has been removed from the back seat of a red SUV.
Where's his wife at?
That's what I'm trying to get to.
And here's the part that really stops people. This was the second grandchild lost while she was the one watching them.
Tracy, where are you?
Is that her name, sir?
Tracy.
Tracy.
Yes.
Do you know where she could be?
No, I have no idea she was here.
We need to find her. Her name's Tracy. Miss Tracy?
I can't do this again.
What do you mean again?
Esther was drowned less than a year ago.
Okay, I understand.
I cannot do this again.
Is this your grandchild? I'm so sorry.
In the same family.
Tracy, do you have any idea maybe how long it's been?
It could have been up to 2 hours. I forgot I had her.
Okay.
I took her out to lunch with some friends. And when I got back, I don't know even what I had on my mind, but I didn't get her out of the car, and I didn't think about it again until I was getting ready to get my other grandson and take him out to dinner. And all of a sudden it dawned on me that she was with me.
I understand, okay?
I need to drive in my car. I need to go somewhere. I can't do this.
It's hard to be here,
I cannot do this.
I understand.
I don't want to face anybody.
Okay.
I can't face my daughter.
Okay.
I don't want to be here when she comes. I can't do this.
Okay.
I'm going to get in my car. I need to just go somewhere.
Well,
Unless you're going to arrest me.
I need to get a statement from you, though, okay?
If you need to take a statement, do it now.
Shane.
Unless you're going to arrest me.
A year ago, Tracy witnessed her 16-month-old nephew Ezra wander off and become involved in a water emergency in a pond. That case was not prosecuted. Now, less than a year later, another grandchild has not survived under nearly the same supervision. As police calmed Tracy down and took her to the station for questioning, investigators fanned out to the scene. A roofing crew had been working on the property that afternoon. Police asked only one question. Had anyone seen Tracy with the baby when she came to the area?
When the woman arrived here, was she alone in the vehicle or was somebody in the vehicle with her?
Cuando ella llegó aquí en la camioneta y se parqueó aquí, ¿ella estaba sola o estaba con alguien?
Yo la miré sola.
By herself.
He didn't know anything was going on until the first units got here.
¿Usted no vio, no sabía qué estaba pasando? ¿Usted cuándo se dio cuenta cuando algo pasó?
Cuando llegaron aquí las patrullas.
Correct.
Did he hear any screaming or any yelling? Or...
¿Escuchaste a alguien gritando?
Nada, pues como está prendido también el compresor, no sé.
Nothing. And also he's saying that the compressor is on, so he didn't hear nothing.
At the sheriff's office, Tracy sits for a voluntary interview. She is trembling, crying, barely able to breathe between words.
I can't do this again. I can't watch my daughter do this again.
Two grandchildren, two tragedies in a row, and by the horrible coincidence of both happening while she was taking care of them.
Especially knowing that I was responsible. I just cannot do it.
Do you keep her child often?
Last week I had her 4 days out of 5. Typically I just have her once or twice a week.
Was there anything different about today?
No. Except that I didn't expect to have her. And I picked her up and took her to eat with some friends. And somehow, when I got home, I just didn't even think about the fact that I had her. She must have fallen asleep in the vehicle or something. And I heard no noise, and I didn't have anything specific on my mind. It's not like I was rushing in the house to do it. I just forgot she was in the car. I just forgot.
He still insisted it was all an accident, but it was Tracy who asked the question everyone had on their minds.
Who could do that? Who could do that? Who could have? Who does that?
What do you mean?
Who could forget that a baby's in a car? Who could do that?
Now, just so I understand correctly, Miss Tracy, you said that you were going to get your other grandson for dinner.
It's,
Okay.
that had been planned for several days.
Okay.
I was hoping to leave around 3:30.
Okay. So, and your husband were all there.
Have to go real quickly.
Okay. So about 4:30 is when you went out to your vehicle.
Yeah.
About how long after 4:30 did you realize that she was in the car?
I sat and talked to probably 5 to 10 minutes with him sitting on the mower and me sitting in the car. And then I got out because they come up and I was going to see if I could help them. And all of a sudden I realized I just had that flash of what had happened a year ago. And then all of a sudden I realized and opened the door.
So maybe like 15, 20 minutes?
10,
About
probably.
10? Okay. What was the first thing you did when you noticed?
I cried and I ran. And I went around the other side of the barn where you found me.
As Tracy was being taken to the sheriff's office, her son-in-law, Drew, had just arrived on the scene. Imagine a father realizes his child at that moment. He didn't see Yuri's discovery, but the scene before him was still overwhelming. In the body cam footage, he asked only one thing: "Please, is my daughter okay?" It was the second time he and his wife had experienced a loss while their child was with Tracy, a pain that was beyond words, and for investigators, that made the case especially disturbing. At the police station, the team began talking to Kathy, Tracy's best friend of 4 decades, who had been called in to provide emotional support.
How long have you guys been friends?
At least 30 years, if not more.
Okay. Is there anything you can think of that might be important that I should know?
I mean, Kayla trusted her with Uriel. We weren't really sure, how all of that would play out. But, Kayla needed someone to keep the baby on occasion.
Yeah.
When either they were sick or the little boy was sick. And, she trusted her. She gave her to her willingly.
Yeah.
She spent nights with them.
Okay.
Several nights. The rest of the family was sick, so Uriel would spend the night at their house.
Okay. Have you noticed anything changing with her lately? Like
With
more
Tracy?
forgetful or anything like that?
No,
Okay.
no, just that she was always so attentive, because every time I'd text or call, Yuri was always laying on her chest, and she was sleeping or she was playing, and I could hear her in the background. So she was probably overly attentive. This has caught me completely off guard.
Okay.
Because she was so proud that they trusted her.
So nothing malicious?
Oh, God, no.
Okay. And you said called and said probably a few hours in the car.
And she didn't know, because she was just...
Got it. Just given that you were sitting here when her and I spoke, the bulk of it, you felt like she was in her right state of mind in the way she was responding?
Yes.
Okay.
I felt like she was very coherent, but she's blaming herself.
Okay.
I think you walked in the first time, and I said, but that's what they call accidents. I said, you don't have a wound pain in your body. I said, you don't even know when to kill a mosquito. You're not going to intentionally hurt anybody.
That's true.
And I know that for a fact.
Okay. All right.
Tracy's friends saw it as an unwelcome tragedy. The prosecutor saw irresponsible negligence. By nightfall, the picture was clear. A late bus ride. A child left in the back seat for nearly 5 hours. No witnesses. Parents returning too late. And the grandmother's only explanation: she forgot.
I'll be in touch whatever you need. You got it, okay?
This time, the story doesn't end like Ezra's earlier water-related tragedy. Prosecutors decided to proceed with charges, and Tracy Nix faces felony charges for causing fatal harm to a child. The question that has dominated the trial and divided her own family is whether this was a moment of inattention or a crime. The indictment says she faces first-degree child involuntary charges for causing fatal harm, which carries a maximum sentence of 30 years. The prosecution's argument is clear. This wasn't a single incident, but a series of acts.
We want to focus on her actions, inactions, and the results of those actions.
In 2021, Ezra, a 16-month-old grandchild, was lost while in her care. Less than a year later, tragedy struck again, and in the courtroom, the defense argued the exact opposite. They said it was a serious error in judgment, not a crime.
There's no aggravating factors here that make this culpable negligence as opposed to simple negligence.
The defense argues that Tracy is a grieving grandmother suffering from anxiety, depression, and impaired memory, worsened by medication and the trauma of Ezra's earlier water-related tragedy. They insist this was not willful intent, but a psychological break where her mind shut down. But prosecutors counter, Tracy was a career elementary school principal, someone who deeply understood safety, routine, and the vigilance required to supervise children. After 4 hours of deliberation, the jury returned a unanimous verdict, not guilty, of charges for causing fatal harm to a child, but guilty of child neglect resulting in serious injury under Florida Statute 827.03. The maximum sentence is 5 years in prison. Before sentencing, Yuri's father, Drew Shock, stood up to speak about both children, one lost to water, one to heat, and the painful symmetry between the two tragedies.
I'm supposed to come up here and really explain to you about my child. We've been doing this for the past 2 years. We're basically trying to put a price on my child's life with time served in prison. And a lot of you know here, this is not the first time this has happened. This is the second time. But I'm going to keep this about her because that's what this is about. It's about my daughter. She was born on March 5th, and she was a blessing to my wife, to myself, my son. 2 months before that, we had lost our son, and it was devastating. My wife was 6 months pregnant with our daughter, and when our daughter was born, she was born into grief. But she was a blessing. She kept us because we were looking forward to her. Despite everything that was happening, we were looking forward to her taking away a lot of that pain, and she did. She was our angel child. She looked so much like her son, it was ridiculous. We seen him every time we looked at her. She looked at us and it would just cut right through us, and we took that like it was God saying, here you go, here's your shot. She was a blessing.
At first, Drew recalled the brief but precious moments with his daughter, but when he turned to what led to her tragic loss, his tone changed. The silence in the courtroom instantly became tense as he turned to Tracy, pointing out what he believed had been kept from them.
I had some moments where I questioned everything. When you go through stuff like this, you question everything. You question your faith, question everything that you believe because you just couldn't imagine. I thought I knew the people I was sending my child with. I thought I knew them. So much was kept from us. If we had been made aware, we would have made other arrangements. If we had been made aware of medications, we would have done things differently. What would you guys do in my position as a parent? If this happened, not once, but twice. Not once have we got an apology. Not once have they said, Drew, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for what we did to your family. I'm sorry. Not once. We live in Florida. It's hot all the time. I know everybody knows it. You leave your car parked in the parking lot for an hour. You go to get in it. You imagine how hot it is in that car. Hey, you get in, you go to the grocery store, 30 minutes. You get out and it's blistered inside that car. Every time I do that, I think about what my daughter went through for hours by herself, screaming. I can't not think about that. For what? For what? In a hurry? But I'm reminded by that every single day. All I can tell you is that this is something that we will have to suffer with for the rest of our lives. My son no longer has a brother or sister.
Next up was Yuri's mother, Kayla Shock, who recounted the devastation that began with Ezra's tragic loss in 2021 and the pain of learning that little Yuri was no longer with her. A second loss she never thought she would experience.
Good morning, Your Honor. I had a beautiful daughter. And her name was Yuri L.J. Shock. And I named her from an angel from the Old Testament of the Holy Bible. She was nothing shy of an angel. I had been on very strict bed rest. My sole obsession was Uriel. I had been told by my doctors that I needed to choose. I had to choose whether I mourned Ezra or I saved Uriel. And so I put Ezra in any version of a box that I could find inside my heart. And I put him here in the name of protecting Uriel. She was my restoration. She was going to salvage my family. And that was never meant to be her purpose. She was just meant to be a beautiful little girl.
Kayla says that for Yuri, her mother was her best friend. After the first tragedy, their family was deeply fractured, and it took a long time for her to dare let Tracy back into her daughter's life.
The day that I agreed to invite my mom into my daughter's life, I was afraid. I was terrified. But I wanted restoration with you. I wanted that. I wanted our family. I wanted to save something, Mom. I did. I wanted to save something. And you went. And I don't sit and believe that this was an intentional act. I wore this today. You and my dad gave me because I'm still your daughter. I'm still your daughter. And nothing is changing any of this. I still love you. I hate this.
She looked at her mother through tears and made it clear that love does not eliminate responsibility. Tracy Nix was then called upon to speak. Friends said she had been emotionally exhausted since Ezra's tragic loss. The defense argued that past trauma and medication had clouded her thinking. But on the stand, Tracy spoke only of the guilt she carried.
Your Honor, whatever your decision is, I want you to know that I'm already in prison. No one can do more to themselves than I have done to myself. I wake up every day and I think about it. I go to bed every night and I think about it. And I will do that until I draw my last breath. So you may feel like you need to do something more, and I will understand that. But I do want you to know that I'm in my own prison, and it will last all of my life.
When Judge Jalal Harb read the verdict, he did not hesitate. He mentioned Ezra and Yuri, saying the two tragedies in quick succession created a pattern that the court cannot ignore. Although the defense asked for probation based on their client's age, health, and remorse, the judge refused.
Tracy Nix and her husband had the 17-month Ezra at their home, who died 11 months earlier. The grandchild Uriel Shock's tragedy is not an isolated incident. This is the second. The court watched and heard her interview. I do not believe she's showing remorse. I believe she's showing sorrow. There were plenty of signs that Tracy Nix that she had a baby in her car that day and she was responsible to protect it. She failed in her protection of Uri. I will not fail this state or this community in my duties as a judge to fashion a sentence that I feel is appropriate for these type of charges. This community needs to move past this case and leave Kayla and Drew Shock alone. Let them and their 2 children live in peace. This family has lost 2 children, Ezra Shock and Uriel Shock. The tragedy of this case is undeniable. A baby's life is over way too soon and a family has been severely impacted in unimaginable ways. The court hereby sentences Tracy Nix to Florida State Prison for a term of 5 years of Florida or 60 months with credit for all time served.
The final sentence was less than the prosecution had hoped for, but far more than the defense had hoped. As Tracy Nix was led away by police, the courtroom fell into a heavy silence. Hardee County has long been divided. Some sympathize with the grandmother in lingering pain. Others saw her as a caregiver who had twice failed. The sentence brought closure to the case, but not to the loss. For Kayla Shock, justice came with heartbreak, a reality where loss and kinship intersect, and a mother she has yet to completely cut off emotionally. Parents of 2 children grieve after their daughter passes away.
To think of the last moments of her life as a mother is gut-wrenching.
How do you forget a little girl trying to grasp at what just happened, and that it actually just happened twice in our lifetime?
The moment parents realize danger too late is what makes this case so devastating and so important to talk about. Leia's story shows why protecting children begins with paying attention. You've been watching a true crime documentary on Leo Law Insight Unit. Stay aware, stay informed, and if something feels wrong, speak up. Like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for upcoming investigations. To conclude, keep in mind that this documentary exists to document reality responsibly. The people, the actions, and the consequences you've seen are all factual. We present this story to inform, to reflect, and to foster awareness of the human impact, not to sensationalize tragedy, create drama, or assign blame. Understanding comes from acknowledging truth with respect. And that is the purpose of sharing this story.
Despite the actions that I felt misled me, I'm not confused that my mother loves me. And I said that I loved her too because that is true. And there's been times I've grappled with that. We left here today and I said I struggle with the feelings that I have because it's inevitable. I still love her, and here we are.
Nobody wants to see
But I had to choose.
mother go to prison. That's the last thing anybody wants to do. But when you draw a line in the sand and you put your family comes first, no matter what, and our kids come first. No, I didn't want to do it, but like I said, I can't look at my children.
I have to look my son in the eye and tell him that we fought for his dead siblings.
Yeah.
I think that is our bottom line, is that one day when we have to answer to specifically who remembers Ezra, who remembers Uriel, I have to be able to live with myself. And I have to be able to at least say that we fought tooth and nail to make sure that their siblings were not forgotten. And that his loss is profound. Son is a wonderful boy. And we are proud of him. And we're going to, I think, go be with him. That's what I would like to do. Thank you.
Thank you for staying until the end. And if you feel like something is wrong around you, especially with children, don't ignore it. You can call the Child Help Center, which is in the corner of the screen. The call is free, completely confidential, and someone is listening 24/7. Sometimes just one call can change a life.